It's the first. It's the first. It's the first episode. It's the first. Might be your last.
But I'm looking for my first.
First episode podcast. Welcome to First Episode Podcast, a cherry popping debrief of your next binge-worthy television series. I'm your host, Motown Maurice.
And I'm your guest host, Raj Jawa.
Today we're cherry popping Fallout.
In a future post-apocalyptic Los Angeles, brought about by nuclear decimation, citizens must live in underground bunkers to protect themselves from radiation, mutants, and bandits.
The genres are action, adventure, drama, sci-fi, and war. Raj, so I know you have some experience in the Fallout universe via the video games. How's that been for you?
It's great. I actually did do a recent, I don't know what you call it, several days where I played through all the main games in the series. So one through 4 plus New Vegas plus 76. And that was fun. I mean, really enjoy the just the universe of Fallout, the kind of post-apocalyptic world, the kind of rebuilding element. I think there's a tendency in previous post-apocalyptic things to kind of be like a sole survivor or a single person out in the wilderness. And, you know, maybe that's realistic, maybe it's not. I don't know. But I think I more appreciate this kind of Fallout universe where it's like some people have mutated but are surviving, maybe to some degree, maybe some to less. You know, there are still humans. There are other kind of creatures. Things have evolved or mutated, I guess, whatever kind of terminology you want to use. But yeah, I just really like that kind of feel of this post-apocalyptic world, and just the games really, especially the later ones like Fallout 4 and 76, really give you this feeling of rebuilding the wasteland, because you can actually, you know, build shelters or build part of the, you know, it's a shooting game and whatever, but you can rebuild an actual shelter and a base based on the way you want to, and guns and all this stuff.
Oh, very nice. Is it a first person?
It's actually both. In 4 and 76, you can go from first person to third person,
Nice.
Depending on how you want.
Did you actually finish these games?
I did finish 4. 1 and 2 are very difficult and very different from the more current games. They're from a top-down perspective, and it's more of like an RTS or real-time strategy game where you kind of have this character that you're sending around the wasteland in more confined settings. Whereas, yes, as the later games, 3, New Vegas, 4, and 76 really embrace the both first and third person shooter aspects. And, you know, as I say, the later games, the building aspects as well, the building a shelter.
So with all the investment that you put into the game,
Sure.
Are you critical about this show?
No, I would say the show thus far seems to be pretty loyal, like fan service. Like they looked at the game and built the world and everything based off that, rather than trying to work. It's like we need to refresh everything, or someone's like, we have new ideas. It's like, no, we're gonna make this exactly what we see. I think in some ways like Star Wars. Star Wars is pretty faithful, I think, to the source material, as my understanding. I'm a big Star Wars fan, but maybe not as much as I'm not up on the current stuff as much. But yes, I think the commitment to the fans and the world that is in the video games is very clear. And I think so. No, I don't. I know that's not the only opinion, because some people are very critical of it. I can't say I know what those opinions are necessarily. But yeah, no, for me, I really enjoy it. But I also am a fan of Fallout 4 in a way of, I feel real, and I'm doing air quotes here, Fallout fans tend to like the more New Vegas video game. And it's a different developer. I think it's partly the developer war. New Vegas was developed by Obsidian. They were the company, or at least part of the developers that made the original 2 Fallout games.
Gotcha.
So they are part of the original team, whereas Bethesda, who owns it now and who is attached to the TV show, is kind of more of the, I don't know if you want to call it an interloper, but they bought the IP from those people back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how they got a deal to do Obsidian, how they got a deal to do New Vegas in the middle of all this, but yes, Bethesda is the one who makes the games these days, and I tend to, I guess, like the Bethesda games. Not trying to hate on the Obsidian games, but I'm definitely more of a Bethesda fan in that way, but not Starfield.
Gotcha.
Starfield, different thing.
In terms of fan service, fans can be very critical about the source material.
100%.
I want to use
Almost always.
I want to use Halo for an example. Oh man, they ripped that apart because they didn't like the fact that Master Chief, the main character, took off his helmet.
Yep.
Like that is just a no-no because he keeps his helmet on in the video games.
He does.
So in Fallout, is there one thing that bothered you?
I can't tell if they have, not by this point. The first episode, they absolutely have not done anything that seems out of place to my understanding, but there is a lot of deep lore in this game, in this series, that we'll see. We'll see how well it's incorporated, if they take any creative license with some of the choices from the video game to how they interpret the show. I imagine no. I imagine they're going to be pretty faithful. I think this story is not from the video game. Like the TV show is a different story.
Yes.
But they're basically using the Fallout universe as the backdrop for that story. So all the characters, all the factions, all the things that we hear are from the Fallout universe. And I think they're just putting all those pieces together to tell a story in that universe.
Yeah. We're talking a lot about the video game right now, but I've actually never played the video game. There is a download on the Nintendo Switch. It was called Fallout Shelter. I had no idea what was going on.
Sure.
So I never really got far at all. I downloaded it. I was, what is this? Never played it again. So I'm experiencing this whole universe for the first time in the show. And I say, you don't have to play the video game at all to enjoy the show, to watch the show. It's fresh and it's exciting. Had really good first impressions. They didn't, for me, they got into the heart. The inciting incident was right there in the beginning.
Right.
And I was able to really gravitate to some of the themes, such as leadership. You saw a lot of strong leadership within the main characters. The young lady who's out there trying to find her father. I really like the first storyline a lot because that was crazy with the Vault 32 and Vault 33 and how they're just surviving. I was kind of confused because they did a good job presenting that world. I'm like, wait a second, are they underground or are they not? But they had the projectors and things like that. So the whole layout of the first episode, especially that first storyline, was really, really good. And I just like the bravery and the leadership that you saw within the characters. Is it Maximus is the young man?
That's right, yeah.
He's quite interesting. I have to learn more about him later on, but he just wanted to serve. He wanted to serve. I'm not sure if he did that shady thing to his comrade or not, but he just wanted to put himself in a leadership position and serve. I myself, I wouldn't say I'm the most smartest or the most creative person in the world, but I have put myself in leadership positions over the years, which has helped me elevate in life. So I always like to see characters in leadership positions too.
Absolutely. Well, I want to ask you, I don't know if it's the most relevant question, maybe it's a silly question. In fact, in these two leadership roles that we saw, or I guess factions, orders of this universe that we saw, the Vault and the Brotherhood, which would you rather be a part of in this world if you were caught in it?
Wow, that is a good question. I'm probably gravitating more towards the Vault because there's an oasis of family. There's an oasis of love and togetherness and just figuring it out as a unit. I really like that. The Brotherhood, I'm still trying to understand exactly, what's their purpose.
Absolutely.
What's their purpose? And there's a lot of sacrifice that has to be made just to survive in that type of situation.
Absolutely. I agree. And that kind of ties into kind of what I saw as themes. mainly survival and family. And I know you didn't explicitly say the word family, but for sure, I think those vaults absolutely exist in their own quirky kind of family aspect regardless. And everybody kind of has their role to play within it. I find it interesting, you know, as I don't necessarily agree with the Brotherhood's methods, but in a very similar way, the Brotherhood, I would say, uses and maybe exploits the language of family in order to instill a sense of loyalty, often to people who are wayward already. Yep. So people who are lost souls, looking for guidance, looking for, you know, don't have parents, don't have anyone left in this world. And the Brotherhood has a tendency, seemingly, to scoop them up and bring them under their wing, to do whatever their bidding may be. Good or bad, it's really unclear. To be honest, in the games, I'm not even sure if it's good or bad. I think it really depends on your perspective on law and order. I think the Brotherhood definitely represents kind of an attempt to bring order to the wasteland. Is it a good thing? Is it a bad thing? Again, goes back to how much you agree with the mission, I guess, of the Brotherhood. But really, the idea of family is so strong in this first episode. You have, you know, Lucy, when everything starts to go down, you have very specific scenes, actually, of her saving her brother, and then being saved by her father subsequently. I think that those scenes specifically, they didn't like spend a lot of time showing her saving a lot of people in the vault. It was really just her brother, her father ensuring that she got out of there. You know, it's really, that's why I can't actually separate the idea of family and survival in this theme, because it was so tied to the kind of goals of the people who are surviving. In the opening scene, you know, the bombs drop and everybody runs in a panic, but they're grabbing their loved ones. You have the anti-commie dad who's, you know, showing his family into the shelter, but punching the guy, and, you know, saying, no, there's no room in here, in times of crisis, because there is, I think, as much as we think like, oh, we're going to be good people and we're going to save a lot of people, in times of crisis, we have a tendency, I think, to we afford that survival to the people who are closest to us, immediately closest to us, in fact.
Yeah. And we've had a similar conversation outside of the podcast when we're talking about family. And I shared with you my perspective, blood or not, relatives or not, family represents the people that you fight for and the people that are willing to fight for you. And that's what you saw in these characters,
right?
Fighting for each other. They just happen to be related. So that is, you know, that's why family is such a strong theme here, because these people are fighting survival, family, blood, love, and everything that comes along with it.
Absolutely. And then in the same way, like I say, the Brotherhood uses that to kind of twist it. Like, I think even the word brotherhood, I think, is very explicit. I know it's part of the game, but it's very explicit. It's to instill a sense of family in a sense that maybe it doesn't belong. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I wouldn't gravitate to those type of characters because, as you said, they were wayward. And those are some of the tactics that the military actually uses.
For sure. I think there definitely are some parallels. I in rewatching the first episode, I noticed there was it looks like the Catholic guy with the smoke. So it seems like there's some kind of parallels to both the military and maybe even some religion as well. I could be reaching, but
yeah. I mean, the only time in my life that I considered the military is when I was like heartbroken about a girl.
Sure.
Because you're just like, your spirit is broken. Everything inside of you is broken and you really can't see past what's happening right now. And here's the military providing a future for you.
Absolutely.
This is the only time I even considered. I didn't get far at all. But it's in those type of moments that you're vulnerable.
Absolutely. And I think it really shows, going back to your point, it shows the real difference in, like, the Vault is order and the Brotherhood is order, but they have a completely different opinion on what is order, what is freedom, what is autonomy, perhaps.
Yeah.
You know, the Brotherhood is kind of a top-down hierarchy. You're doing what the Brotherhood wants, essentially. They even say it in the credo when Maximus gets branded.
Yeah.
It's like, I think it's first is the order. It was three things, and the last one was the person you're assigned to.
Yeah.
It was the Brotherhood. It was something else. But yeah, it's very interesting to see those two perspectives on a similar concept, order. That is to say, how do you deal with it? One is seclusion and I guess kindness. I don't know what else you'd say about how the Vault kind of organizes the democracy, maybe. And the Brotherhood is more of a top-down, like authoritarian, our way, and we'll keep you alive, but do what we say.
As you reminded me of the branding scheme and some of the things that you're mentioning, it also reflected upon fraternities that I was exposed to in college, and it never appealed to me. There were people that thought that I would have pledged, but it was just something about trying so hard to impress others that I don't consider that leadership. I want to be a leader naturally.
Sure.
I want to be a leader by destiny, if anything, but to do foolish things, to get the appeal or the approval of others, I'm not doing that.
For sure. No, that makes a lot of sense.
I'm excited to see what else this show has to offer because, when they showed at the end of the episode, they showed like a little montage of what's to come. And there's a lot of monstrosities that are going to be coming from monsters and just creatures and things like that. I'm sure some of that stuff is in the video game. And it seems like a really nice, cool world to just escape and watch.
I agree. Yeah, I think it is just a nice playground in that way, where a lot is possible. But I think for them too, they'll find a lot has already been foretold because of the video game. I think similar to a way I think people wish Game of Thrones ended based on the books that don't exist. I think people would probably expect this game this TV show to stay as close to possible to that universe, at least whatever story they're trying to tell, maybe some license there.
Yeah.
But
now as far as Game of Thrones is concerned, the final books don't exist, but George R.R. Martin exists.
He does. That's true.
And they didn't consult with him properly.
That's unfortunate. Yeah. I didn't think about that, but that is true. Yeah, they probably could have done that.
The producers just wanted to be done with the show.
Because they got Star Wars, right? If I'm not mistaken. I think they were moving on to Star Wars after that.
Actually, they're involved in Three Body Problem.
There you go.
So who knows what they got into right away. Three Body Problem we just finished reviewing that episode. I hope you check it out, debriefing it. But it took about 4 years to develop.
Wow.
So, yeah, that's about right.
Yeah.
That's about right.
Sure.
They just wanted to be done with Game of Thrones, which is unfortunate because the fans deserved better.
Of course. I mean, yeah, if you're going to do something, and as long as it's in your purview, it kind of behooves you to do the best you can for everyone involved, yourself even. I guess, Hollywood and people in Hollywood don't always look at it that way. There must, other strategies and stuff people think about. But yeah, I think I can't imagine not putting my heart and soul into things to the point where I think I would rather forego and shed extra projects to finish something, I don't think they would go away. Maybe they would argue otherwise that, oh no, you got to strike where it's hot,
Yeah. So what is the entertainment potential for you? Do you plan to watch more?
I do. I mean, I definitely want to know more. I mean, surprisingly, as much as I'm not a TV watcher, I do want to get lost in this world and kind of explore, remember the love of really, because Fallout 4 is really one of the first long RPGs I've played in a long time. I hadn't committed myself to a game like that in many, many years because video games that are long, they're kind of like, after a certain number of hours, you're just like, I could be doing something so much better than this. I feel like this is not good. And in the same way we talked about on the last episode, committing to finish things. I think you wanna finish it, so you spend way too many hours a day or whatever trying to get it. And I think sometimes you get unsatisfied when you binge something that heavily, and spend so many time. Like maybe if you spend 3 days and beat a game, spending, I don't know, 20 something hours over the course of those 3 days, and I think it's somehow less satisfying sometimes.
Yeah.
So I'm interested to see this unfold in a way much more passively than I don't have to actually play it or control it or let someone else tell me the story.
Yeah. Well, I'm interested, definitely. And I'm also interested in the video games now that you pitched it so well.
Okay.
I think the industry has been doing a pretty good job of recreating video games into movies.
It seems like it.
From Castlevania. I don't know if you've seen the anime on Netflix.
No.
Really, really good.
I didn't even know that was. I was glad you were going to mention Last of Us. That's the one usually people go to when thinking of games that
is true. That's
are
a good
well
one.
adapted.
That's good. But Castlevania, don't sleep on that.
Wow.
They actually have Castlevania, which was awesome.
Sure.
And then maybe last year or the year before, they have Castlevania Nocturne. Atara and I reviewed that. Start off with Castlevania.
Okay.
It's really good.
All right.
Do not sleep on that. So I liked it. I liked the Vault storyline a lot better than the Brotherhood storyline. That hasn't resonated too much with me, but you did bring in some perspectives for me to understand it more.
Absolutely.
As I continue to watch it. As far as cherries are concerned, I'm giving it a 4. I'm gonna give it a 4. It was good.
Very nice. Very nice. Yeah. I really, to speak on that, I don't want to get off, we're almost done, but like the Vault quirkiness, it kind of has almost, it's more serious than that, but the Vault definitely offers some opportunities for the show to be a little quirky. Some of the characters especially are really comedy masters or comedy, stars in their own right. So I'm looking forward to seeing more of that quirkiness, hopefully, in the show. I think I would still only give Fallout this episode a 3.5.
Yeah.
And I give it a 3.5 because I really liked it. I think I could have definitely used for more ghoul in this episode for sure, but you got to introduce him somehow. So, and this was a good way to do it. I just, I could use a few more minutes.
You can't go wrong with more ghoul.
It's true.
All right, I hope the producers listen to this episode. Fallout released on April 10th, 2024. There's 1 season available and 8 episodes. The average duration of each episode is 1 hour. You can watch it on Amazon, and the IMDb rating is 8.5. That's pretty.
That was higher than Three Body Problem, just by 1.
Yeah, that's pretty good. I've noticed if the rating is around a 7, it's pretty decent. The rating, and it's not like I'm dependent upon the rating. But I've noticed if it's a 7 or higher, it's something I enjoy. How about you? Do you ever pay attention to that?
Yeah, it really depends. Like, I mean, I like a lot of films. It depends on what metric we're using too. Like, I mean, I definitely like some films that have been rated lowly, sadly. But I think I would trust IMDb more than like Rotten Tomatoes.
Yeah.
And there's the thing, I don't think there's anything wrong with Rotten Tomatoes, but it is becoming more and more strategic because, filmmakers, myself included, want to put that certified fresh on their film. And you're starting to get a little bit of that pay to play, like, hey, we'll pay for me to review your movie. I'm a Rotten Tomatoes certified reviewer. You're going to want that. And, again, we do want that as part of our branding. And yet at the same time, it's just like you're kind of taking away the spirit of a review. Even if it's completely honest, I think paying for a review is a little, it's not great. I think it hurts at the end of the day, it hurts the review system for everyone.
It contaminates the whole system.
It does.
It's
it
not
does.
Cool. Yeah.
It's wrong incentives. It's just, I think it's very unfortunate. So that's the unfortunate thing about Rotten Tomatoes. And I think IMDb maybe provides a little bit more of a pure audience score, let's say.
Have you've actually like reviewed and leave comments on IMDb? I've done a little bit. There's a terrible movie. Oh my God. I don't even want to repeat the title. If I could give it a 0 I would. It's called the Institution of Magical Negroes or something like that. Oh, yes.
Yeah, I saw the trailer for that, yes.
But sure. I was just so disgusted with that. I just had to express something.
For sure. Yeah. I mean, I stopped using IMDb for ratings since I'm a film person. So I use Letterboxd. Oh, okay. But IMDb, I'm sorry, Letterboxd doesn't do TV shows. So for TV shows, especially now that I'm watching for this podcast, I would use still IMDb to rate at least a number score, because it's honestly how I also keep track. Because I log in. The only reason I use Letterboxd is because I use it to log movies when I watched it, my review of it, and it can also remember if I saw a movie already and I'm about to rewatch it. It's like, oh, this is a rewatch, And I actually just rewatched a movie. I'll get off this, but I lowered my score of it because I wasn't as impressed of how it handled the topic. So a lot of my reviews are very, very personal to how I feel about the movie, not necessarily how good, quote unquote, the movie is.
Mm-hmm. I've actually never heard of Letterboxd, so I'll have to look it up.
It's interesting. Yeah, it's a great place to log movies and write reviews, and people sometimes do funny ones and whatever.
And you log your own movies on Letterboxd?
What do you mean by that? Movies I watch.
Movies that you produce?
You can, if they get listed, certainly.
Oh, you can't list it yourself?
I don't. There's probably some I think they mostly aggregate from IMDb. So if you get on IMDb, most likely you'll be on there. Or there's some other mechanism, maybe Rotten Tomatoes score, verified, some other. But certainly you can have your movie on. Yeah, certainly. Yeah, because my movies are on there.
I've noticed some of my titles are on Rotten Tomatoes.
Sure,
and
sure.
I didn't put it there. It's probably because I put it on IMDb, and then maybe because it got picked up by like Tubi or Amazon.
Certainly, yeah, they aggregate. So it similar to like the way Yelp and other things work. If you don't necessarily make a profile with them, if your business has been long enough, they'll just pull it so people can start putting reviews and whether you want it or not.
Yeah,
you're gonna get a Yelp page or whatever.
Okay, well, thanks for sharing about Letterboxd. I'll have to look into that.
My pleasure, please.
And for those that want to know, Fallout did get renewed for a new season, and there's no official release date yet, but it took them about a week for them to announce it. So that's good.
That is good.
So Fallout got released on April 10th. On the 18th, they announced new seasons are coming, or a new season. So
that's good stuff.
That's good stuff.
I can see why, Todd Howard of Bethesda was very happy.
Yeah. Congratulations to the Fallout crew.
Yeah.
Those are our thoughts on Fallout.
Thank you once again for trusting us.
We are honored to be your first. For more information about this podcast and more, please visit MotownMaurice.com.